Good morning. Welcome to today's meeting of the Assembly Committee on Government Affairs for the 2025 legislative session. Will the secretary please call the roll?
Assembly members Carter, DeLong, De Silva, Edgeworth, Flanagan, Gallant, Golding, Gurr, Hunt, Jackson, Karras, Kasama, Wynn, Chair Considine.
I am here. Everybody's here today. So welcome to everyone here in Carson City, those joining by video conference in Las Vegas, and anyone listening over the internet. As always, I would like to start with some housekeeping measures. Please check and silence your electronic devices, especially if you had them on at about 10:30 last night. If you wish to testify, please sign in at a table and provide a business card to our committee secretary. When testifying, please turn on the microphone and clearly state your name and any affiliation for the record. We expect courtesy and respect in our interactions during the meeting, even if we disagree with someone else's position. And committee members will be using their laptops to view handouts and other documents. Please do not interpret this as a sign of disrespect or inattention. And with that, today we will hear Senate Bill 380, which revises provisions relating to autism spectrum disorders. And I will now open the hearing on Senate Bill 380. Today we have Senator Orenshaw to present this measure, and please go ahead whenever you are ready.
Good morning, Chair Considine, members of the Assembly Government Affairs Committee. For the record, James Orenshaw. I represent State Senate District 21 down in Southern Nevada. Down in Las Vegas, I see Julie Ostrovsky, who's here to help me co-present. She has been working with me for many years on a lot of autism-related bills. I think I also see Dr. Eric Lovas down in the Las Vegas building, and appreciate them being there. And with your permission, Chair Considine, I'll give a brief introduction about the bill and then turn it over to them. Then I'm happy to answer any questions. Senate Bill 380 is meant to address a couple of issues. One of them is law enforcement interactions with persons on the spectrum. There is training currently in statute for law enforcement officers regarding certain disabilities, and Senate Bill 380 seeks to add training regarding persons with autism spectrum disorder. Initially, when the bill came into the Senate, we had the training be mandatory. There were some pretty big fiscal notes on that. So when the bill went to Senate Finance, in order to try to address those fiscal notes with our tough budgetary times this session, we made the training optional. Certainly I am hopeful during the interim that a lot of different law enforcement agencies may still try to incorporate that training, even though it's not mandatory. I'm hopeful. I believe we've received some feedback from some agencies that that's something they will try to incorporate. In my day job, I'm a deputy public defender in juvenile court. And very often, I'll represent children who have interactions with law enforcement. And sometimes during interaction with law enforcement, a child may not respond to an officer's questions or commands. And, there are times for children who are on the spectrum who may not be verbal or may have trouble, getting those words out, and especially in that very scary situation. And I think the training here would be very helpful to officers. Will they know every time if a child or if an adult they deal with is on the spectrum? No, they're not going to know every time, but I think the training will help them realize that when they do come into contact with someone, and if they're not responding to questions, and if they freeze, and if they're not verbalizing, that it may not be obstructing an officer or trying to not be cooperative, that there may be more to it, and there may be someone they need to call, someone they need to talk to. So that's the initial part of the bill. I presented a conceptual amendment to delete Section 4 of the bill, and I'm committed to try to work with all the stakeholders during the interim to try to, discuss those issues that brought about Section 4 and try to work on them. So I'm deleting Section 4 regarding the board. There is an audit, a process audit that's in Section 4.5 that I'm hoping will continue just to look at the timeliness, the time to get the applications processed for folks who want to practice as registered behavior technicians. So I'm hoping that audit would kind of give us some more information as we go into next session from the legislative auditor. With your permission, Chair, I'd like to turn it over to my co-presenters in Vegas, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Go ahead in Las Vegas.
Hello, Julie Ostrovsky for the record, Ostrovsky. My statement is also a bit in support of this bill, but I appreciate you letting me share. Assembly members, Senator Orenshaw, thank you today for hearing Senate Bill 380. This bill is important. It's a community partnership that encourages law enforcement to learn more about people with autism in an effort to help and protect a population that may not respond like you and I when confronted by a peace officer. It's important to protect a child like mine, 27-year-old Mitchell, who is nonverbal. This is my prop for the day. I will be sure to share a picture. It's a seatbelt cover. It says, autism, nonverbal, do not leave unattended, may not respond to verbal commands, emergency information inside. That's fantastic if he's sitting in my car and this seatbelt cover is attached. He also has ID in his wallet, but in an emergency situation, who's going to have time to learn and look in that seatbelt cover, look in his wallet. And it's important that we have peace officers trained. We have people in the community willing to volunteer their services. We are working on grants to make this happen. I believe police departments and firefighters will take advantage, and our goal is to remove the fiscal note, which we have done at this time. Until last night, there was another section of this bill. It continued to have registered behavioral technicians complete 2 sets of FBI background checks to be registered with the state. It was also a safety bill. That section has been removed. The 2 sets of fingerprints remain, the background checks remain, the eligibility stringency remains. However, not all of the stakeholders were in agreement about moving forward with this, and Senator Orenshaw, being the amazing human being he is, has asked us to continue to work on this. However, there is a section for an audit of the ABA board and the process for becoming licensed or registered. This is incredibly important. These are the professionals who work with children with autism. The process for being evaluated and registered is confusing, and it's kind of a mystery. None of us really know how the soup is made. We look forward to this audit, to learning more about the process and improve the access and increase our workforce development. This section, this audit, is incredibly important. All fiscal notes have been removed, and we look forward to supporting this initiative.
Good morning, members of the Assembly. Sorry, okay.
And Chair, I believe I see Michelle Scott Lewing there from the Autism Coalition of Nevada, who really, the part about the law enforcement training was an idea she talked to me about, and that's where the idea came. And so with your permission, I'd also like to include Michelle. I didn't see her down there in the room, so I apologize.
Thank you, and that was Senator James Orenshaw.
James Orenshaw, Senate 21, thank you.
Good morning, members of the Assembly. Sorry for the false start. So I'm very excited and very grateful to be here in front of all of you today, and so grateful to Senator Orenshaw for sponsoring this bill.
If you would please state your name for the record.
It is our goal. I'm sorry. Yep. I'm
Sorry,
Michelle
early.
Scott.
Good morning. Can you please say it again, because I just talked
and
over
rushing.
you.
I'm trying to calm down from the rush. MICHELLESCOTT-LEWING, Michelle Scott Lewing, President for the Autism Coalition of Nevada. We're very, very excited about this bill. It means a lot to us. We've been instrumental in representing the population in Nevada for 18 years. And one of our primary goals is safety. We established what we call our Finder protocol years ago, which is a unique protocol for finding children on the spectrum who have eloped in partnership with law enforcement. We have conducted a safety training throughout the state multiple times over the years. But right now we find that with the population increase in autism and just the urgency to get this training done, that is our goal. And with your help, we'll make it a law. So we have offered to provide this law enforcement training. My partner mentioned that there is no fiscal note. We are going to offer this statewide at no charge to law enforcement agencies throughout the state. We have an organization that we are partnering with that will come to Nevada, train all of us as a team in the Autism Coalition of Nevada, and then train the trainers. So we're willing to pay for that service from that third-party entity, and then from there we'll go out and just offer our services throughout the state to make sure that this training does take place. So it's called First Responder Autism Trainers. That's the name of the organization, and that is actually run by a former law enforcement officer who has a son, an adult son with autism, who wandered and was found in the middle of a highway. And so again, it's called Train the Trainer. We will handle that. We are offering that. So we're so grateful that you're willing to hear about our bill today. And thank you so much.
Chair James Orenshall, Senate 21. Dr. Eric Lovas is also down there. With your permission, if you might address the bill.
Good morning. For the record, Eric Lovas, L-O-V-A-A-S. Thank you, Senator Orenshall, Madam Chair, members of the committee. I'm president of the Lovas Center here in Las Vegas. I've been serving Nevada's children for over 30 years. I've also traveled throughout the United States, Caribbean, and have offices in Florida, both for-profit and nonprofit. The nonprofit's goal is to educate the community on autism treatment, and help develop policy for the nation. I've served kids in every state across Spain. We currently have a foundation where the former governor of Madrid, which is a state and a city, but the former governor of Madrid is part of our board. She's a board member there. And so the same thing that's happening here is also happening in Spain. I'm going to go backwards a little bit. I originally came down in support of Section 4, which I found was pulled this morning, as a provider, working in Nevada has become a little bit laborious with the extra fingerprint requirements. Then Section 4 did a great job of amending that, and I just want to throw that in there. So with the issues that are going on with waiting for prospective employees up to 90 days, I endorse the audit, and I hope we can work collaboratively with the board to try to find a streamlined process and getting people to work quickly. On a side note, my mother was the head of staff development of Men's Central Jail in downtown Los Angeles. All the sheriffs who were being hired had to spend time in the jail system. And her job as the doctor, she was the head of the psych ward of Men's Central Jail. Her job was to train first responders to be able to identify those who were on drugs versus those who might have mental disabilities. We did walk the halls, and we were able to see people who were incarcerated, who probably shouldn't have been there, and the people who fell through the cracks. And it was an ongoing process. She did this for 20 years. So first responder training is near and dear to my heart. We've worked with hospitals here in town. We did Las Vegas Metro Police, the fire department, and the juvenile court systems as well. So we fully endorse this bill.
Thank you, Chair James Orenshall, Senate 21. Happy to answer any questions.
Thank you for the presentation. I just want to clarify, just because we had someone talking about Section 4. The intent is Section 4 is to be deleted under the amendment, but Section 4.5, which is the audit during the legislature interim, is still in the bill.
Yes, Chair. James Orenshaw, Senate 21. With my conceptual amendment, I'm asking that Section 4 be deleted. I'd like to work with all the stakeholders, the board, during the interim to kind of try to address those issues. I hope that Section 4.5 will continue. That's a process audit that I'm asking the legislative auditor to look at the times it takes to process applications. Because what I've learned from a lot of the providers is that someone will apply, and then due to the time length, they will look for other work, maybe go out of state to practice. And, the board has, talked to me about a lot of things they're doing on their end to try to, improve efficiency. And I feel like the audit would just kind of, be able to look at all the data and give us kind of a report as to where we're at in terms of getting those applications processed so that people can get out and practice.
Thank you. I will move to questions from the committee. Our first question is from Assemblymember Karras.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you for a great presentation. I know it's very early after a very late night for everyone in this building. I like this bill. My question is what was the impetus for removing mandatory and making it optional?
Thank you, James Orenshaw, Senate 21. To you and through you, Chair Considine, to Assemblymember Karras.
Please go direct.
Oh, thank you, Chair. The fiscal notes from some different law enforcement agencies were pretty large. And so when the bill went to Senate Finance, really we wanted to try to address those fiscal notes because we weren't sure that there'd be, certainly felt like there wouldn't be the budget to try to get them through with the fiscal notes, even from some state agencies who have law enforcement arms. And so the feeling was hopefully this is put into statute. It's optional. Hopefully law enforcement agencies, if this passes, will avail themselves of it. And at this point, this is not the session where we've got the purse strings to be able to have this be mandatory, unfortunately.
Thank you for that answer, and it sounds like this will be a good first step. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Our next question is from Assemblymember DeLong.
Thank you, Chair. Your question partially answered mine about the Section 4.5, the reason for the audit. So just a little more clarification there. So from your perspective, the only reason to do the audit is because there's a perception or a belief that it just takes too long to get the applications processed and authorizations issued?
James Orenshaw, Senate 21. Assemblymember DeLong, yes, I've had a lot of feedback from providers who've let me know that when someone is putting in their application for registration here with the board, that the time it takes for that to be processed is of such a length that persons are looking for other work or looking to go out of state to practice and versus waiting. Now, the board has let me know about a lot of work about things they're doing, things becoming electronic with DPS, and I appreciate everything they're doing. I just feel like the audit, will kind of, give us a report as to the timeline it takes and maybe what could be done to improve that from our auditor who's unbiased and, just looks at the data and, we'll be able to kind of tell us what's working right, what's maybe not working right, needs a little bit of improvement. With your permission, Chair, I don't know if anyone down in Las Vegas might also want to chime in on that question, but if that's okay with you, I wonder if I could ask them to also answer because I think they have a little more expertise too.
Yes, Michelle Scott-Lewing, Autism Coalition of Nevada. Yes, Assemblyman DeLong. So we have had tremendous input, and I am hoping that we didn't make the assumption that all of you are aware of the statistical information regarding autism, particularly in Nevada, but 1 in 31 children now have autism. 12,000 children in Nevada have an autism spectrum disorder, and 40,000 adults in Nevada have an autism spectrum disorder. So we do hear statewide from providers, our main concern is the time that it takes to process and get therapists out there. And so we have this gap in time that causes people who can't afford to wait for a job. They seek the job, they seek the position, they wait, but they can't wait that long because they have to pay the rent. So they do. They find other work either elsewhere in the state of Nevada in a different profession, or they leave. Hearing this for the last couple of years and understanding how critical it is to expedite these processes, that's exactly why we're asking for the audit. It is meant to make things better. As a regulatory officer, I've been a regulatory officer in medical devices for 33 years. I see the value in the audit so that you can, get to the bottom of where the problem is and solve it as quickly as possible. So I very much see the value in the audit, and I'm glad that we have that part and asking for your help with that. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So, Chair, I have another question when you deem it appropriate. Go ahead. Thank you. Regarding Section 3, the training, was there any discussion with the law enforcement officer training group with regards to the scope of the current training and the fact that they're already doing this type of training? And
James Ornshall, Senate 21. Thank you for the question, Assemblymember DeLong. Actually, I wonder if, with your permission, Chair, if I could turn that over to Michelle Scott Lewing, because I know that she's had multiple conversations with different law enforcement agencies. So if I could, with your permission, turn that over to her.
Go ahead.
Okay, I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm Michelle Scott Lewing. So yes, we have been in communication with law enforcement here in Clark County. In fact, they are part of our advisory team from the past in past trainings. So what's happened is there are always new officers every year, lots of them. They have their protocol right now, which is that they have training via a video that they're required to watch. So we're not quite sure how much information is actually retained, how much of that information is up to date. So they agree that the need for ongoing and updated training is very important. And everybody is very open to any additional training that we can provide.
thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Our next question is from Assemblymember Goulding.
Thank you. I want to clarify that I'm understanding what the different sections are doing. So in Section 3, it's defining the training. And then Section 4, which has been removed, created it looks like a bachelor level BA certification. Is that correct? And that's what's been removed?
James Ornshall, Senate 21. Thank you for the question, Assemblymember Goulding. My conceptual amendment is to delete Section 4, which would have allowed an RBT, registered behavior technician, to practice pending the approval of their application for registration under the direct supervision of someone who's already licensed. So that's being removed. I'm proposing to remove that, continue working with all the stakeholders during the interim on that. Section 3 has to do with the definition of the training for law enforcement, which I believe will be helpful for law enforcement agencies that avail themselves of that.
Okay, so in the training that's in Section 3, you don't mention a licensed behavior analyst. Is the intent that you talked about training the trainer? Are the individuals that are providing that training to law enforcement licensed behavior analysts?
James Ornshall, Senate 21, Assemblymember Goulding. That's not specified in Section 3. This would be training that each law enforcement agency would avail themselves of, and certainly I believe it would have to be something that is approved by the Peace Officer Standards and Training Commission. Whether the training would be done by someone who's a licensed behavior analyst, the bill doesn't speak to that issue. Okay.
Thank you. Our next question is from Did you have a follow-up, Assemblymember Goulding?
I'm wondering if you'd be open to that. My concern would be that in Section 4, you're recognizing that behavior analysts are the professional organization and the BA certified individuals are recognized as having the only evidence-based efficacy with autistic folks. So I think that that's important, and I'm wondering if you would be open to an amendment that would specify that in the training.
James Ornshaw, Senate 21. At first glance, I don't think that would be a concern, but I wonder if I could just speak with stakeholders and everybody I've been working on the bill with and maybe get back to you on an answer on that. But first glance, I don't personally see that would be a problem in terms of law enforcement getting that training from someone who's licensed, but I just wonder if I could get back to you on that. Because my only worry would be if that would create any obstacles for law enforcement to implement that training, but I just wonder if I could talk to some of the other stakeholders on that and get back to you, if that's okay.
Thank you. Our next question is from Assemblymember Jackson.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you for the presentation. Those who are experiencing mental illness, they may not be able to comply. So I want to thank you for bringing this forward. My question is this bill specific to youth with autism or autism in general?
James Ornshaw, Senate 21. Thank you for the kind words. Assemblymember Jackson, thank you for the question. This bill would apply to the sections 1, 2, and 3 regarding training of law enforcement. It would apply to anyone, not just juveniles. It would apply to adults, anyone that the training would hopefully let law enforcement officers kind of see some signs where someone, may be on the spectrum and maybe there's another call they need to make before they jump to a conclusion that someone is being non-cooperative or trying to obstruct an officer. And, I think this would be helpful, and certainly the statute doesn't limit it to juveniles. It would be to anybody of any age who has an interaction with a law enforcement officer. And hopefully that training might help that officer realize that if someone's not responding to questions, they may not be just not cooperating. It may be a manifestation of an autism spectrum disorder.
Thank you. Committee members, are there any other questions? Seeing none, thank you, and thank you in Las Vegas for the presentation. We will now move on to testimony on the bill. Testimony can be provided here in Carson City in person, via video conference in Las Vegas, or over the phone, and further instructions for providing testimony on a bill can be found on the agenda. We will begin with testimony in support of Senate Bill 380 here in person in Carson City. Seeing no one approach and seeing the 3 presenters at the table, but not seeing anyone coming up additionally to provide support testimony, we will move to I'm sorry, I wasn't sure that if there was a hand raised in Las Vegas, someone who had already provided. Okay, so you already presented, but you want to provide support testimony? Go ahead.
Julie Ostrovsky, for the record, Ostrovsky. I wanted to clarify something on the bill. The first section has to do with law enforcement safety training. And because of the last minute on this bill, we were trying to call law enforcement in. We have been working with them to provide appropriate training and the training that they want at no cost to them at this time. Section 4 that was removed kept in place background checks for registered behavior technicians. First, they do a federal background check for employment. Second, they would do a background check for state registration. The state registration part handled by the ABA board is a mystery. None of us really know the process. Sometimes it takes longer. We're hoping to work with them on a checklist and how we can make this process work for all the stakeholders. And that's what we need from the audit. We really don't understand the process and have been unable to get clarification. I am in full support of this bill. I think it brings education and awareness to the entire autism community, both through safety and through licensing and registration. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Is there anyone else in Las Vegas who wanted to provide support testimony for SB 380?
Yes, Michelle Scott-Lewing for the record. And if it's okay, I'd like to circle back just to one of the questions that was posed. As far as the trainers, train the trainers, it just so happens that the trainers that will train our trainers just so happen to be our statewide partners, community partners who so happen to be registered behavioral therapists and BCBAs. So we're fortunate that that exists. However, there are many, many qualified people in the state of Nevada who can train on autism safety, psychologists, educators, autism educators, police officers who've had outside training and are certified in autism training. So I want to make sure that we hopefully won't narrow the scope to only behavioral therapists, because behavioral therapists are teaching behavioral therapy, crucial. But I think there are also other people that can implement the actual training for law enforcement agents. So I just wanted to clarify that. And then I want to say once again that I am fully in support of this bill, speaking as a mother of 2 now adult children with autism, one of whom eloped and was missing for 30 minutes just after a major hurricane when fences were down and swimming pools were jet black, and children with autism like to find water. The way that the law enforcement responded, there were 2 sides of that coin. They were readily available, but they were not knowledgeable about how to find a person with autism or how to approach a person with autism. So we can't train enough. And so thank you so much. We're grateful. Thank you.
Thank you. Seeing no other testimony in support for SB 360 in Las Vegas, AVH, is there anyone on the lines in 380? Yes. Apologies. AVH, is there anyone on the line for Senate Bill 380 in support?
If you would like to testify in support of Senate Bill 380, please press star 9 to take your place in the queue. Again, press star 9.
Good morning. Rebecca Raynoa for the record, Raynoha. I'm in full support of this bill, both for first responders as well as an audit. Our kids deserve safety, and our kids also deserve early intervention services. Thank you.
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the committee. Stephen Cohen for the record, also in full support. And just to address the audit issue, the legislative history on the issue of autism is quite complex and 15 odd years old. And I would point to legislative audit, I think it's 2204 for the first step that has kind of moved the needle as sessions have evolved. Thank you, I yield.
Caller with the last 3 digits, 284. You are unmuted on our end. Please make sure that your phone is unmuted on your end.
Good morning, Yesenia Gonzalez for the record, YESENIA GONZALES, Vice President of Azul Blue United by Autism. We represent both parts of Senate Bill 380, trying to bring more RBTs to our state, bridging the gap of the disservice to our community, our children, and also having training for our peace officers, because as many have mentioned, our children tend to elope. I am the mother of a child that has autism. I am also an adult that has autism. And unfortunately, when you are dealing with these situations, many peace officers have the best intentions, but are uneducated on what is autism. And if you were to, for example, run into my son, he just looks like a typical child. But I would hate for a situation to ever happen where a peace officer responds and they assume that my child might be under the influence, not knowing he's having a meltdown because he looks so typical, not knowing that he's global level 1 of autism, or myself, unless they look at my driver's license and they see that I have the medical or on my driver's license. So this is something that we in Azul support. We hear a lot of these awful interactions with law enforcement. We hear of also the good, but we would like to have peace officers have that proper training so that situations are no longer terrifying. And so we have more compassion, sympathy, awareness, and education in our community for our officers. Thank you.
Senator Congressman and committee members, I am grateful for your time today. For the record, my name is Jan Crandy, C-R-A-N-D-Y. I served on the Nevada Autism Commission as chair for many years. I also helped develop ATAP in its early stages and provided oversight to ATAP providers while in my position there. I was an advocate and was part of the team who helped with the drafting of the original bill language for the registered behavior technician, the insurance bill, and the creation of the Nevada Applied Behavior Analysis Board. Our intent was to promote access for the workforce of RBTs by having a registry. It was never to create barriers to building a workforce to treat individuals with autism. I would like to thank our sponsors. You both continue to be there for the autism community. I believe in and support SB 380 in its entirety, including the original Section 4. I know our community is coming together to build a volunteer team to provide the police officer training. That team does include behavior analysts to help remove the physical notes for Section 1 through 3. We had to make it optional. We will make it happen one agency at a time. I recognize the need for the audit in Section 4.5 and believe in data and know it leads to change, changes we need to address the delays in the state registration process. The current law allows this registration process to take up to 120 days. Providers are reporting this time frame is too long and costly. I have heard improvements in this timeline. From 4 to 6 weeks to 3 weeks is the best timeline that I've heard. And honestly, 3 weeks is too long, and we lose RBTs in that process. Nevada needs to do everything we can to build an adequate workforce to treat all individuals with autism. Not having RBTs creates wait list and limited available treatment hours. Any way we can streamline the process is a plus for everyone. My original goal was to define and outline and define the intent of Section 4 SB 380. I would still like to include it in my written testimony for understanding and the reasons for the support for Section 4, which had amended the Practice Act for applied behavior analysis.
Thank you, ma'am.
I look forward to working with all. Thank you.
If you could submit your written testimony, we'd appreciate that. Thank you.
Chair, we have no additional callers for support at this time.
Thank you. We will now move to testimony in opposition. Is there anyone here in Carson City wishing to testify in opposition to Senate Bill 380? Seeing no one approach, is there anyone in Las Vegas wishing to testify in opposition to Senate Bill 380? Seeing no one in Las Vegas, AVH, is there anyone on the line wishing to testify in opposition to Senate Bill 380?
If you would like to testify in opposition of Senate Bill 380, please press *9 to take your place in the queue. Chair, we have no callers wishing to testify in opposition.
Thank you. Then we will move on to neutral testimony. Is there anyone here in Carson City wishing to testify in neutral on Senate Bill 380? Please begin when you are ready.
Good morning. I'm Wendy Knorr, Knorr, and I'm currently the Executive Director of the Nevada Applied Behavior Analysis Board. We initially came in opposition of this bill. I provided you with some additional information. Hopefully that was helpful to you in understanding the complexity of what we're talking about. But the bottom line is the background clearances are not the same. Nationally through the accreditation board and what's required for licensing. And we have provided information that we understand that they're not regularly being conducted. So we have had great concerns about that. I appreciate the efforts of everyone with this bill to get to this point. With the removal of Section 4, the board can now come in at neutral on this. We still have concerns about the audit. That's a financial addition to the board and our licensees and the LCB. That information is public. We review it every month in our board meetings. If it's a data information, I've been providing data for the last 3 months to show that what has been reported previously is not currently the situation. We are moving those applications. The last 2 years, we have modified our service, our application process. Our application is 9 questions. Where the training and the time comes in is the 40 hours required for this paraprofessional entry-level position. So we need the training, we need the security, the protection of this group of people who are entering ABA world and providing services to these vulnerable children. So that's why we had to come out so strongly against the protection, the reduction in those protective measures. With the removal of that, we can move forward. We've always been in support of the training. Personally, I've seen it work with other situations, Alzheimer's, mental health. It's greatly needed. And so we can come and have expressed our support for this going since the inception of this. So the information, our DPS is going electronic. They're telling us they'll have background clearances within 72 hours. If it improves to 5 days, 7 days, we're going to be moving those through quicker. Currently, right now, we took a group of applicants yesterday. Our current timeline for average for processing an application is under 40 days. And that includes that 40-hour requirement of training, the background clearance. So we want to work with our stakeholders. It's not a mystery. We have licensed and registered more than 4,000 people in the last 2 years. Potentially, the individuals who do not understand the process haven't had to be through it because they're advocates, not licensees. We are willing to sit down and walk through the application. We've made huge strides in the efficiency of that application. We take it very seriously. This is not a workforce development issue. It's a safety measure that needs to be continued. So thank you.
Thank you. And if you would like to provide those that testimony written, you can send that to the committee. Thank you.
Good morning, Chair Considine, members of the committee. For the record, Dan Crossman, Legislative Auditor. I'm here testifying in the neutral today. As LCB staff, I do not advocate for or against legislation. Just wanted to quickly put on the record that we do look forward to the opportunity to work collaboratively with the board on this audit. We appreciate the opportunities to continue to help improve state government. That's our job. We're not here to get anybody. We're here to find the best information that we can and present that in the best manner that we can to provide for more efficient government. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone in Las Vegas wishing to provide neutral testimony to SB 380? Seeing no one approach the table, AVH, is there anyone on the line wishing to provide neutral testimony to Senate Bill 380?
If you would like to provide testimony in neutral for Senate Bill 380, please press star 9 to take your place in the queue.
Good afternoon, committee chair and members. For the record, my name is Dr. Bridget Fronapfel. That's Fronapfel, and I am the current chair of the Nevada Board of Behavior Analysis. As my executive director mentioned, we initially came in today in opposition of this bill. However, I appreciate the sponsor and his affiliates in removing the unnecessary language in Section 4 related to background checks for RBTs. However, I must point out this legislation contains a duplicative audit for our board, and the board will be billed for this subsequently. Therefore, a fiscal note should remain on this bill in order to address coverage of these costs in total. I would also like to mention that in a year with projected budgetary shortfalls in place of the data and reporting my board has provided already to the sponsor and his affiliates, our board is now subject to an additional audit that no other board is required to do. For the record, our board already has an audit scheduled this biennium. We completed one in 2023, and we will continue to do so every biennium. Our board is more than open to providing the data to the sponsor if he requests. Current data demonstrates that our board is not the cause of delays nor a barrier in the registration of RBTs and other licensed professionals under our jurisdiction. This data has been shared with the sponsor, and we are happy to share this data with the committee as well. We are happy to also share details of our process, as it is not mysterious and is in fact consistent with that of every other regulatory body. We are open to continued discussion and education for all regarding regulation, and my executive director and her assistant are available to all constituents regarding this process. Please consider modifications regarding this section, its purpose, and do not hesitate to reach out to us with any questions or concerns. Thank you.
Thank you, Kohler. Under the rules of neutral opposition, your testimony was opposition, so we will move it under opposition for Senate Bill 380. Thank you, AVH. Is there any other callers on the line for neutral for SB 380?
Chair, we have no additional callers on the line at this time.
Thank you. And we will bring the presenter up for any final remarks.
Chair Considine, members of the Assembly Government Affairs Committee, James Orenshaw, State Senate District 21. Thank you for hearing Senate Bill 380 today. I want to thank all the providers, the parents, the advocates who are so passionate on this issue. I appreciate Dr. Fernapfel and Ms. Knorr from the board being willing to work with me. I think that the training will be so helpful for our law enforcement officers, for persons on the spectrum, that even with it being optional in this bill, I think that many law enforcement agencies may avail themselves of it, and that is going to help reduce negative interactions between law enforcement and persons on the spectrum. I think the audit, it's a process audit. We're not trying to look at finances, we're just looking at the process. Certainly, it's been represented to me by many providers that there's an issue with the length of time it takes to get that application processed, and that people are deciding to look at other professions, other work, and that it's taking away valuable practitioners who could help there on the front lines. I know the board has been trying hard, and I appreciate everything they're doing, but I think the audit will give us an unbiased look at everything and a report, and then it'll be valuable for the legislature, valuable for the public. So I hope the committee will consider processing the bill, and I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you. I will now close the hearing on Senate Bill 380, and the committee will go into 5-minute recess. Okay, thank you. We are back from our recess. I would like to make a statement. In accordance with Rule 57-4 of the Assembly Standing Rules, Speaker Yeager has provided approval to take final action on the bill heard today within 24 hours of the hearing. And with that, we will now open the work session on Senate Bill 380. Members, are there any questions? Seeing none, I will now entertain a motion to amend and do pass Senate Bill 380 with only the amendment posted in Nellis, which removes sections 4 of the bill. I have a first from Vice Chair Nguyen and a second from Assembly Member DeLong. Do we have any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed say nay. Motion passes unanimous. Motion carries unanimously, and the floor statement today will go to Assembly Member Jackson. And with that, we will close the work session and move on to the last item on our agenda today, which is public comment. Public comment is not an opportunity. Hey. Public comment is not an opportunity to rehear testimony on a bill, and we ask that you please keep your public comment to topics within the jurisdiction of the committee. As a reminder, members of the public can provide public comment in person or telephonically and may submit public comment up to 24 hours after the meeting. For telephonic testimony today, dial 669-900-6833. When prompted to provide the meeting ID, enter 880-4629-7748, and then press pound when prompted for a participant ID. Each person will have 2 minutes to provide testimony. Please remember to clearly state and spell your name for the record. Is there anyone here in Carson City wishing to provide public comment today? Seeing no one, is there anyone in Las Vegas wishing to provide public comment today? Seeing no one approach the table, AVH, is there anyone on the line to provide public comment today?
If you would like to provide public comment, please press star 9 to take your place in the queue. Again, that's star 9. Chair, we have no callers wishing to provide public comment at this time.
Thank you. As I said yesterday, please keep an eye on the committee agendas moving forward. If any more business comes before the committee, we will be back to carry out the remainder of our work. But this does conclude our meeting for today. The meeting is adjourned.